This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so it's funny. Actually, before we even get started, I just want to talk about a habit for a second because you guys will notice something, and I notice it myself, and it must drive everyone crazy, but pretty much say the same thing every single day for every single meeting for every single time I pretty much do anything that involves trading. And I was thinking about this last night. I meant to say it this morning, but I completely forgot about it. But all trading is, and it's funny how it carries over to my, to the basically the teaching part of my trading career, but is building a habit that you do over and over and over and over again. Essentially, all trading is finding something that works and duplicating it every single day, day in and day out. So I understand that most of these meetings start exactly the same, but guess what? All my mornings start exactly the same, okay? My afternoon starts exactly the same. Every aspect of my trading is exactly the same day in and day out. So just something to think about when you're going out there and trying to build your and structure what your trading day is like. So let's talk about AMD first. And this is probably my hold on. The market today has been up and down lately. Big consolidation. Yeah, and it's Thursday. Thursday, we talked about this earlier in the morning meeting, but Thursdays have just been a big day of consolidation. But overall, there weren't a ton of trades out there, but there were some really quality trades, and we pretty much had the two best ones on our list. So let's talk about AMD. Guys, AMD this morning was the easiest trade that you will ever get. When I say something like that, I'm not saying it as as an easy to the point where no, actually, yes, I am. I'm saying that. If you remember from this morning meeting, and that's one of the great things about recording these things, is you could go back, see exactly what I saw this morning, hear exactly what I told you, and then see exactly what happens. My exact words from this morning were a trigger up and I'm in. That was it. Exact words. We had so much selling at 25, we needed to get a giant pull-up. We're talking about millions of shares that went in at that moment coming down to that 25 level. So guess what? Millions of shares, we talked about this in our print workshop yesterday, but millions of shares, that's going to be a pretty big pull-up, isn't it? We're not talking about 10 prints. We're not talking about 20 prints. We're talking about 60, 70 prints that came into there at that 25 level. So all we needed to do was see a trigger towards the upside, and boom, we get in. And if we look, the second the market opened, I mean, it does not get much easier than this. The second the market opened, what happened? Oops, I went back to the wrong day, it looks like. And here we go. All right, and if we come over here, the second market opened, we went down a little bit, okay, down to pretty much where our lows are of 24.55. Now, what do we know about 24.50? When a stock does not, and Steve just said, if a stock doesn't hit 50 and it triggers up, even if we didn't have those great prints and we had a few prints up at that 25 level, it's still a 80% trade that comes into it. But we know we had the millions of shares coming down into, I'm telling you, the variables that came into this trade, if this would have ended up being, first of all, this is a 99.9% trade, okay? And there's no such thing as anything ever being 100%, but I mean, this is as easy as it gets. Did not hit 50, we get the trigger back up, and our price target was at that 25.79. We called our price target this morning. Now, am I, of course, going to look at what happens at the 25.50 level? Of course I am. But the most logical spot, as we talked about, is coming up to that print line. But as we keep getting more and more prints, it's showing us that we're getting more of an extension. Now, does that mean that the guys at 25 aren't going to make their money to the downside? No, of course not. But when they know there's got to be a gigantic pull-up that comes in the stock, they're going to ride it. So as long as we see more buying as the stock is coming up, what that's telling us is we're going to have a gigantic pull-up. But we knew that. We didn't even need to see the prints today. We didn't even need to see the prints today. Based off of the controlling market maker at 25 yesterday, we knew at least $1 this thing had to come up. So now we have prints at 26 on the ask, which tells us that we still need to see this thing pull up higher before it finishes. The only reason we keep seeing it come back down is because it keeps printing at 26 on the ask side of things. But once again, it's just textbook. And I know, I say this all the time of how important these morning meetings are, okay? And not even the morning meeting, our afternoon meeting, any meeting we do, we don't just do it here for just to talk, okay? We do it because it's specifically setting us up for our game plan for the day. So let's talk about SQ now. SQ, I don't need to know anything else besides we have a ton of prints sitting there at 65 on the bid. As I was watching it, so I had to leave I had a meeting at a little bit after 11, so I had to leave right about 11. So if we look over there, as the stock, the print showed us the selling was going to bring us down to 65. Okay, and that's what our, and it's a very simple way to think about it. It just was logical with that much selling. 65 would be, being a psychological number, would be the spot that it was going down to hit. So it hit 65, we get a whole bunch of prints, and on the way down, it was getting hit so hard that a lot of them didn't pull back. So right now in SQ, all we're in is a pull-up. That's all this is. So as we get into the afternoon, SQ is a big mover. There's no reason we don't see this stock start to gravitate back towards that double bottom and come back down to that 65 level. I don't care about anything else that happened between 11 o'clock and when I got back at about 1 o'clock. I don't care. The prints at 65 tell us one thing, and what happened on this actual move down right into 11 told us everything we need to know. So everything that happened over here, I could have drew this chart for you, to be completely honest. I would have drew it to 70 because guess what? 65 to 70, that's the most logical spot. But I could have drew you the chart that the stock was going to come back up to 70. You guys have seen me do it before. All right, it's just very, very simple. When you get those controlling market makers out there, they tell you exactly what has to happen. So we're sitting in this consolidation. Could we not get volume for the rest of the day? Yeah, we could. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I think as the market makers, everyone starts getting back from lunch and we get into some higher volume times, we're going to start to see this thing gravitate down towards there. All right, unless we see something that changes that. Because remember, if we start seeing all of a sudden, this pull up to 70, we get a bunch of ask prints that come in, we see more buying, that's basically going to tell us that the stock is, it has more room. But it doesn't get much better than coming up to the 71.18 print line, hitting its head on it, and then triggering back down. Okay, I mean, if you had to take a guess as the stock was pulling up, that print line is going to be your guess of where the resistance point was going to be. So, I mean, it just doesn't get much easier than that, guys. Okay, the reason we go over this, the reason we use these specific tools, and we do what we do, the entire methodology of what we do, is because it makes sense. It's, when you see a stock start to come up towards that line, we know it's going to act as a magnet. It's going to bring it back up towards it. And that's exactly what it did. So basically what we're looking for is just this thing to break underneath right here. This consolidation right now, if it breaks underneath there, I am even going to be confirmed more in my mind that we're going to be expecting it to come down to towards that 65 point. And then the only other thing I got for this afternoon, guys, is AMRN. Now, AMRN, unfortunately, at 19 printed a whole bunch of below the bid print. So I don't really know much that's going on. I mean, this is a little bit odd. You can see, all this above the ask prints at 1943. So that's from 1944 to 1935. 1935 underneath would be bearish. 1944 above would be bullish. But I'm going to need to see more. Okay, we do have prints at 1950 on the bid, which basically shows us that the stock was going to want to go up a little bit before we ended up coming back down underneath that. Did this satisfy those prints yet? No, absolutely not. So I'm going to be expecting this thing to still have a little bit more of a move. Now, what would the most logical spot, guys? Okay, we have those prints at 1950. Let's just think logically. What would be the most logical spot for the stock to go up to before we end up seeing it come back down and satisfy those prints at 1950? Look at that, 20. Very simple. Doesn't take rocket science. Okay, I am a very, very, very simple trader. I do not make things hard. I just go with what's logical. Okay, you got a print line right above. Perfect spot for it to hit. That's where I'm going to anticipate a trigger coming back down. We come to a level. That's where I'm going to anticipate. Guess what? I'm going to anticipate this at 20. If it doesn't get to 20, it's not as high of a probability trade down towards that short side as it would be if it does actually get to that 20. So it's just very, very simple. We don't have to make this stuff hard, guys. It really isn't. All right. I know sometimes in our heads we think it can't be this easy. Well, guess what? It is. Most of the time it is. We just make it a lot harder on ourselves. And then, like I said, other than that, it looks like a whole bunch of garbage out there. Just a whole lot of just nothing. We'll take a look at the scanners real quick, but I just did. Excuse me. I didn't really see anything I cared about. So OGEN, he's got a nice trend, but it's a quant trading stock. I don't care about it. I'm not going to be trading that. GPRE, absolutely not. 5,000 shares a minute. AMRN, we've already spoken about. CRMD, new to our list, 3.5 million, but to quanti, I will not trade it. And that's it on our gainers. Let's take a look at our losers. And FLR, nothing really going there. SQ, We already actually FLR is not terrible, but the volume is no. It's got a great range. It's moved $3.27 today, but the volume's just not there. I'll put FLR on a side list just because guess it's a smooth trading stock, and I love smooth trading stocks, but that's the only reason. If volume doesn't pick up, don't even look at it. I'm not going to be doing a thing with it. SQ, we already know about. NIO, I told you guys, NIO, you know what? We had that huge selling. We have buying at 8, don't get me wrong. So this doesn't mean this stock isn't eventually going to go above 8. But when you have someone unload that much like they did yesterday at 775, just was not comfortable saying that it was going to go back up. And guess what? There were better things for us to look at. So there's just nothing really there. What about HEAR? So HEAR, this is the deal with this. It came up this morning and it printed a whole bunch at 20. And if you look at it, look what happened as soon as it printed. Okay, as soon as we started coming back down on our pull down from there, volume died. Okay, when volume dies, what does that mean for the time frame we're going to expect the stock to do what the prince told us it would? And in this case, Steve, forever is 100% the right answer. It's going to take forever. It literally is just not going to happen very quickly. I mean, it's trading 4,000 shares. Try to stay away from stocks that die off with volume that early. Okay, because guess what? We don't know it's going to start trading again. We know we have the prince at 1850. We know we have the prince at 20. I have no doubt the stock will eventually go back up. There's just nothing I can do about it at that moment. Because if it starts going up on 4,000 shares a minute, what am I going to do? There's unfortunately nothing there. So we know where it's got to go. It's just unfortunately it's not trading. If a stock doesn't trade, it's not going to move. That's simple. All right, guys. Anything else out there that I missed? And while we're still going, who here got AMD this morning? I hope the goal of this is everyone. I want the answer to be everyone because we literally gave our price target before the market even opened. We knew we were just looking for a trigger. It was just one of the easiest trades that I've seen. A piece twice, Mason. That's even a better answer. But we need to make sure you take advantage of things like this because when the market's not a fun place for a lot of people because when you don't know what you're doing, the market is literally, it's a fickle bitch. But at the end of the day, when it gives you and it just wants to it's like going up to an ATM machine and it just spitting money at you. When that happens, you should not be looking at anything else out there. That's what you do. Oh, yeah, 50% call. Beautiful, guys. All right, so I will talk to everyone in the chat room, and happy trading.